Today we're going to be talking about how to attract more of your ideal clients more easily. Let's get started with the big question. So how's business? Normally when we talk about how's business, we normally respond, well, I know I do, about being busy or about having cash flow or not enough cash flow or getting clients or not having enough clients. And it usually seems to be this conversation about whether getting by or flourishing. And today I wanted to take a look at two specific things to change the way that you look at your business. So the first one is, who is your ideal client? So if we're going to have a conversation about attracting your ideal client, we need to know who that person or that group of people is going to be. So I know years ago, probably about 10 years ago, I ran a website business and I found it really awkward pricing for clients. And in the finish, I found that some clients, there was one particular client who I don't think he ever made a decision. You know, I put a proposal to him and he would just dilly-dally back and forth about the decision, and it dragged the process out. Like the website could have been done in a month and it took almost 6 months. So he clearly wasn't my ideal client. I had another client who I absolutely loved, and they gave me plenty of room to design the things I wanted to do, and they let me explore options, and they paid me well and they gave me good terms, and they were closer to my ideal client, where I said to myself, if I had more like that, I'd really love this business. But if I had more like that other guy who couldn't make decisions, I think I'd go bananas. So first question, so who's your ideal client? And it might not just be someone who pays well. It might be the type of work that you're doing. It might be the room to experiment with the type of work that you're doing. So it might be a question of flexibility or lifestyle. It could be one that lets you work from home that you only interact with via Skype. So make some notes about who your ideal client is. If you've made some notes on your ideal client, let's give yourself a rating as to how often you're working with them. You know, if you're never working with them, well, it's probably a 0. And if almost all your clients are your perfect client, well, you want to give yourself a 10. And I'm guessing you're probably somewhere in between. Write that number down because we're going to come back to that later as well. So the second part of this question that I want to ask is, what are you doing to source your new work? So for a lot of small business people, they do a lot of networking and it's personal work, or they might get referred to by someone that they know, and it comes down to who do you know directly. Whereas for a lot of larger organisations, they tend to have bigger systems in place about how they get their work. And they tend to be more likely to rely on advertising or promotions or PR or those sorts of things. And then some businesses might rely on submitting proposals or tenders. Some get lots of referrals from existing customers. Some rely on, and the new one that they're relying on is content marketing. So blogging and social media and these sort of things are another way to get your work. So the question for you is, what do you do to source your new work? So you might want to make some notes there. And then the follow-up question to that last one is, how hard are you working just to get your work? So for example, if you were unemployed and you don't actually have the work to do, you might be spending 40 hours a week just trying to get work. You might be spending the time writing CVs, applying for jobs, meeting people, doing interviews. So the point here is you're not really doing any work, you're just spending all your time getting work. So in that case, on this scale, you might put down 0. You're working really hard just to get work. At the other end of the spectrum, how would it be? Could you imagine this situation? You're sitting back and you're opening up your email in the morning, and all of a sudden you've got 3 emails from people who are sending you proposals wanting you to work with them. So that might be the other extreme. So those could be examples of referrals coming from friends. You know, so you wake up in the morning and there's a couple more referrals coming your way. And you haven't actively done anything about that piece of work. You're sure you've fostered relationships in the background, but to get that specific piece of work, you might not have worked so hard. So that could be an example of a 10, where you're getting the work and it's coming to you fairly easily. So again, make a note there, give yourself a rating. How hard are you working to get your work? Or how easy are you working to get your work? I think this idea is one of the key points for today. So we've looked at how hard are you working to get your work? And I think the key idea is, are you chasing the work or are you attracting it? So if we go back to our topic, we wanted to look at how are we going to attract more work to us. And I think the chasing piece looks at we're working hard just to get the work, and we're probably, if we're doing that, not working with our ideal clients. Whereas on the other hand, if we're attracting work, we might still be working hard, but it might be on different activities. For example, if you love networking, you might not consider that to be hard work for you. And if you can get your work, and particularly with your ideal clients, from doing networking, well, that would probably be a pretty good result. The same for me. I love doing the content marketing thing, so writing the blogs and putting out information. So whilst I do that to attract work, it's less about work for me because I enjoy doing that. So this is part of that balance of what activities are you doing, do you enjoy that activity, and how much effort do you have to put into those activities?